all heard how important communication is to a relationship, but how familiar are you with the actual techniques psychologists and therapists teach for breaking out of an argument spiral and actually finally listening to each other? Today, I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. I'm Jennell Elias, clinically trained in marriage and family therapy, and I'm here with my husband, Julian, who has graciously agreed to help me demonstrate this technique. I've done previous episodes where I've explained some of these commonly taught communication techniques, but I always felt like I could have done a better job illustrating it. It's hard to explain with just one person. So here's the scenario. We're going to use as an example a previous video I had done where I mentioned the story of a previous couple that the wife had a team potluck at work and the husband tried to surprise her by making some delicious lobster mac and cheese. It was actually her favorite and he was so thrilled, he was so ready to surprise her with it. But when he presented the dish, she panicked, she freaked out on him. She said, "I can't believe you would do this. Why didn't you talk to me? I would have told you not to do that." It turned out that there was a coworker on the team who had a deathly allergy to shellfish. So if she had brought that dish to her team, it would have absolutely sent the wrong message, especially after the team member had already kind of communicated that previously to the team. So she was worried about looking bad. She didn't react in the best way. He was obviously shocked because he did something really nice for her and did not get the reaction he was expecting. So today, let's try to pretend that's us so we could demonstrate this technique. Sound good?
Sounds good.
The first step is to decide who will share first. Do you want to be the speaker or the listener this time?
Why don't I be the speaker this time?
Sounds good. When either of us is sharing, it's going to be important to follow some ground rules. Same with anyone at home trying this. The first rule is that as much as possible, the speaker needs to make sure to use wording that prevents things from escalating. The goal here is for us to finally listen to each other and get to the heart of the issues between us. So expressing ourselves in a way that attacks the partner will only backfire, cause the listener to shut down or get defensive, and possibly escalate back into those unproductive back and forth arguments that clearly haven't been working up until now. Some of this wording for de-escalation includes focusing on myself, my thoughts, my feelings, more than what you did or even what your feelings or motives might be. Some people do this by using I statements, like, "I don't like being compared to how otherwise do things because it makes me feel disrespected." But that's not the only option. As long as we're focusing on our experience and, more importantly, how the situation makes us feel, it's a lot harder to be offended at that than if you were to say, "You need to stop comparing me to others. You're disrespecting me when you do that." Same message, it's different. Avoid saying always and never, like you always do this every time. In favor of speaking in a time-specific way, like last night, you did that thing I've been asking you not to do, and it made me feel really frustrated. Try to check the tone and body language so we're not adding salt to the wound of an already difficult situation. If we need to take a 20-minute break just to calm down and come back to the table with cooler heads, that's fine. Let's make sure we are communicating that we need to calm down and state exactly how long the pause is going to be. But better to take that break than to fall back into old argument styles because we were too heated to really have an open heart and an open mind. The second ground rule, try to keep the thoughts short enough that it gives the listener a chance to absorb the message, even if that means breaking up thoughts and feelings into chunks. Couples who try this technique for the first time sometimes get into a place of, "Oh my God, you're finally listening to me. There's so much I've been holding back." And then they open the floodgates and it's a 20-minute monologue. But for this technique, unloading too much in one go can actually cause the listener to start forgetting certain details, making their part, which will come next, that much harder. So we need to make sure we're taking pauses with every main point or two. Those are the rules for the speaker. But the listener also has some ground rules they will need to keep in mind. While the speaker is sharing their thoughts and feelings, the listener needs to spend that time genuinely trying to hear and understand what the speaker is saying, and more importantly, the feelings they are communicating. If while you're talking, I'm mentally building up my counter argument in my head, just biding my time until you finally stop talking so I can give my response, then I'm not really listening. As listeners, we need to be seeking to understand our partners, and that can only happen by setting aside our own points, knowing that our turn will come soon enough for us to share our side of things, and really just focusing on what they are trying to say. The next ground rule is that the listener must stay silent. Maybe nodding or something if we want to show that we're listening, but holding off on interruptions, follow-up questions, or giving any kind of responses yet. Just listen and be ready to reflect back what was heard. There will be a time at the end for questions, and of course, the listener will have a chance later to take a turn at being the speaker. Since you are the speaker, go ahead and share how this situation made you feel.
Okay. When you reacted the way you did when you found out about my lobster mac and cheese, I felt completely underappreciated.
Perfect. Since the speaker doesn't want to go on a super long rant and lose the listener in the process, we're going to take some breaks in between major points to give the listener a chance to check in with us. Now, the listener will paraphrase back to the speaker what they heard, with an emphasis on the emotions expressed, to help confirm that they really did understand so far, and to help the listener feel heard. No, to help the speaker feel heard. So what I hear you telling me is that when I reacted the way that I did, you felt unappreciated. Did I get that right?
Yes.
If there was a misunderstanding there, this is the time to say, no, that's not it, and then clarify or express the thought again so they understand better. If they did understand correctly, then the speaker will say yes, and then move on to expressing the next point if there is one. So go ahead. You were telling me I reacted a certain kind of way in this story. It made the husband, in this case you, right, feel unappreciated. I just confirmed back to you that so far I've understood you correctly. What else do you want to express? The floor is still yours.
I felt confused in the situation. Well, in my head, I felt like this grand scheme of like this beautiful idea to be the best husband ever, and save you some time, some energy, make you look like a stud at this potluck. It completely backfired on me, and I just was left dumbfounded. So I don't know what I did wrong.
Okay, so you feel like the way that I reacted not only had you feeling unappreciated, but it also just left you confused, because otherwise, in other situations, you would have thought that this was nothing but a positive thing. Did I get to hear you right?
You did.
Okay. Have I fully heard you out, or was there more that you needed to?
No, I think I'm good. I think those are two major points.
Okay, so I do have some questions about what you said.
Okay.
When I was mentioning about the potluck and everything, did you remember me telling you about the food allergy? Like, did I ever bring that home, or do you not remember me saying anything about the coworker that had the food allergy?
I don't remember, and right now I don't recall if you did mention that.
Okay. So at this point in the scenario, I'd be having to choose to give the benefit of the doubt that maybe he didn't realize it, maybe I never said it, and we want to assume good intentions. Lastly, you mentioned that the way I reacted in the scenario made you feel these ways. What would have been a different way of communicating to you that you might have found less frustrating or something, that you might have received better for me to communicate to you that I was not pleased with the outcome? Because I don't want to be in a scenario where I have to just grin and tell you, oh, well, thanks for making this, and then I'm like forced to bring it to the potluck and potentially hurt someone with that. Like I couldn't just act like it was fine, but maybe, okay, sure, like maybe the way I said it could have been better. What would you have rather heard instead?
I think it would have been nice if you had, first expressed some gratitude and saying, it's like, oh my God, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you doing this. But, and then explain the reason why this isn't going to work. And you could have ended up saying, it's like, and while I can't take it to the potluck, guess what? Now we have dinner for the next week.
Okay. I think I understand now. Thank you for sharing that with me. If you're good for now, I'll go ahead and be the speaker this time. Is that good for you?
Yeah, sounds good.
I appreciate what you were trying to do, but honestly, when you just went and made this lobster mac and cheese without talking to me, it just became another example of a time where you just make some kind of assumption and you just go do something without checking in with me first. I really wish you had given me a chance to speak up and let you know ahead of time or something, like talk to me first, you know?
What I hear you saying is that while the gesture was appreciated, you wish that I would have not gone under certain assumptions and asked you or checked in with you before I do something like this.
So now that he repeated back to me and I can confirm, like, yeah, that's what I heard, I can then go back and like tell a little bit more of the chunk of it, right? So I would say like that is exactly what it is. Had you given me a chance to speak up first, have you checked with me, I could have told you about my coworker's allergy and maybe said, look, you cooking would really help me out, take something off my plate, but can you make it chicken tenders instead of lobster or something like that? But you didn't check in with me, so I didn't get a chance to tell you that, making me look like the bad guy when I suddenly show up and you've put in all this work and I can't even use that for work.
Okay. What you're saying is that in a scenario like this, I don't need to make assumptions. I do need to stop and check in with you because the things that I'm doing are going to impact other people. It's not just impacting you.
That's right. And the last thing is just, I know that you like to try and surprise me, but I'm really someone who I don't like to be surprised that much. Or maybe that's not true at all, and I could say something like, I understand you were trying to surprise me, but maybe you could have found a different thing to surprise me about, not something related to my work. Notice that we haven't solved the problem yet. Yeah, we mentioned a few options, maybe ask a different kind of way, maybe check in with me next time, but this technique is not for the problem-solving phase just yet. It's to hear each other out, to feel heard, and to finally understand each other, as opposed to previous examples, maybe where we or the couple is in a screaming match, or they've shut down, or other previously unhelpful communication styles. So once we can see eye to eye, then we can brainstorm possible solutions if it's even necessary. Because a lot of the time, couples' arguments tend to resolve themselves just by reaching this level of understanding. That's the basic couples communication technique in a nutshell. There are other techniques for fighting fair that I have mentioned in previous videos, so I definitely recommend checking those out next if you want to have a more well-rounded skill for handling conflict in your relationship. I also encourage you to drop any questions that might have come up in the submission form that I've got linked at the bottom of every video's description. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you get notified of when I go live to answer them. Thank you, my love, for joining me and supporting me as always. It is a lot easier sometimes to just explain things with the second person.
Absolutely. Happy to help because I love you.
All right, guys, we'll talk again soon.